We have one of the busiest men in Myrtle Beach. Who is he? You'll meet him coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at the Fox 43 studio in Myrtle Beach. We're focused on the life of Vernie Dove. Good morning, Vernie.
Good morning, Greg.
Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
It's a pleasure to be here. As you know, I'm familiar with Fox TV.
Absolutely. You've been taking good care of us since, is it 97 or 98?
Yeah, about that long, probably.
It's amazing to think that we were ever associated with anyone other than Associated Insurance.
I know. Of course, as you know, I'm an Ally McBeal fan. This is where it all started.
That's exactly right. We wish Ally was still on the air. I think it's moved over to cable network.
Yeah, it's on one day a week or one afternoon or something like that. Right. I miss it on Fox TV.
It was great coming to your house one time and visiting your home office and seeing the Ally McBeal poster up, and of course at the office, the Ally McBeal mugs
and everything
you got.
else,
absolutely.
And the CDs and all
the
that
CD, that's exactly right. It's amazing to see how well that show did to help launch really get the network strong.
I enjoyed it very much.
Well, thanks again for coming in. I'm sure it's funny to hear someone say the life of Vernie Dove. You've lived it so well.
I hope it's not getting to the end.
A long way to go.
I hope.
A long way to go. Can we talk real quick about yourself for viewers who may not have met you here on the Strand? As you know, the bulk of our viewers are in the PD and in southeastern North Carolina, and you being a Tar Heel by birth. Let's talk real quick. Are you originally from the area?
No, Peg and I grew up in Caswell County, North Carolina, which is just south of Danville, Virginia. Peggy grew up in Danville, Virginia, even though it wasn't but a 12-mile stretch there. But we've known each other since probably junior high school. But we moved to Myrtle Beach in 1987.
Is that right?
I sold my company in 87, and we moved here, I think, in July of 87, and I called myself being retired. I really enjoyed it. I was 51 years old, and I really thought I'd died and gone to heaven, because I just didn't. I got up when I wanted to and went to bed when I wanted to. And we love Myrtle Beach, and anybody that knows me knows that. We've been here 16 years now.
16 years. Vernie, how long have you and Peggy been married?
47 years.
Oh, come on.
47 years.
You're not even 47.
Yeah, I was. Oh, yeah. But we've been married to each other for 47 years, and as you know, Peg is a very special person.
She is. For so many folks on the Strand. And y'all's family, you all have children?
Right. Lou Ann's the oldest. She's a regional vice president for Wachovia Bank up in High Point, North Carolina. And Bernie Jr. is in insurance business like I am. He's been on the company side of the business for a number of years, but he had an opportunity to go into an agency and be a part of it. He's doing real well. And he's married and have two little boys. I have two little grandsons, Wilson and Brooks.
Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
What's it like being a grandfather now?
It's wonderful. It adds about 20 more years to your life, and especially to Peggy's life. And they're special little boys. We're real proud of Vernie Jr. and his wife. They adopted two little Korean boys, and when they were 5 months old, and we all flew to Washington and picked the first one up, and we all flew back and picked the second one up. And it's just a wonderful experience. They're very bright little fellows, very athletic, very well mannered. It's just a pleasure to be around. In fact, Peg was up last week from Tuesday to Sunday, keeping the little one. He had chicken pox, so so she did that, and then I went up on Friday afternoon.
Vernie, now that my parents are grandparents, it's so exciting to, just a couple of months ago, we had a guest in, Ed Young, you may know, in Florence, and I asked him what's the best part of being a grandfather, and he said, Greg, that term, grandchildren, is exactly right.
That's exactly right.
They are truly grandchildren. It really hit home, and it hit home greater for my parents.
Well, he's a great guy. He'd be a great grandpa.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Vernie, what prompted you to return to work after you'd retired?
Well, you know, like I said, I sold my company. I'd had it for 30 years, and I did not really plan to go back to work. But after being here about 2 years, I think 1980, 89, we were members of First Presbyterian Church, as you well know, and very active there. And Bobby Wilkes is just a great minister and a great person, and he and I became close friends. And they needed a business administrator bad, and he made it sound real interesting, just 2 days a week part-time. You know, that didn't last long. It turned into 7 days a week. But I enjoyed it. Bobby's a great person, and I spent 5 years with Bobby. And when I came to the church they didn't have computers, and they didn't have they had dial telephones. I mean, that's in '89. They still had dial telephones. I'll never forget it. And the receptionist, if she wanted Bobby, she pushed the bell, which was a Sunday school bell. One time it rung all over the whole church, not just in his office.
No.
And mine was 2, and Brown Bradley was music director. His was 3, and the janitor was 4. And that was the extent of, and 2 ladies in the office. But anyway, the church grew fast, so I was able to get computers and telephones and hire all new staff and everything, and it just worked out really well. And we moved a little Mother's Morning Out program where members of the church could come by and leave the children, maybe go shopping for an hour or 2. And then we saw a great need to have a daycare center. And we had from age 3 to 5-year-old preschool. And we brought in Lisa Hamilton, and you probably know Lisa, and she had a master's degree in early childhood education, and we put a staff together. And all of our teachers were certified, and we eventually had teachers' aides. And now I think it's about 160 kids there, went from 8 to 160, and we're real proud of that. And it's a great outreach program. So many kids come there, parents are not members of the church, but the parents get to meet Bobby and Brown and all the staff, and what a friendly church it is, and we get a lot of new members that way, and the children love us there. So that's one of the best things I think happened to that church. And we've had a couple of building fund programs too. That was interesting.
Plans are underway.
Bob is a great person to be around. That is a big part. Those 5 years was a big part of my life. My entire lifetime is working with Bobby because he is just a great guy. He lives the way he ministers, and he's a great athlete. He loves golf. He's a great golfer, great tennis player. He's a people person, and he and I together just had a lot of fun.
Truly some of the reasons why First Presbyterian Church in Myrtle Beach has grown so dramatically.
Because of Bobby Wills.
Absolutely.
I think it's about 650 members when he came there about 3 years prior to me, and now I think it's about 2,000. And as you know, we're fixing to move from downtown over on Grissom Parkway when we get all the money in place and build a nice new church.
Well, it's so exciting to see folks who gravitated to Bobby because it's enabled the church to spread its wings, as you said, in areas that they possibly never would have gotten involved with.
I think the key to Bobby's success, there's all age groups in the church, and he can bounce the kids, the seniors, middle-aged, college students, young adults. He's just good at that.
Absolutely.
He is real good at that.
Bernie, did your association with First Pres lead to your work with other community organizations?
Probably so. I remember when I came, when we moved to Myrtle Beach in '87, we didn't know one person, not one person. And we met some people along the way. I know when I was retired those 2 years, I walked the beach a lot, and I thought everybody here was from West Virginia. Everybody I met on the beach was from West Virginia. And there's a lot of interesting, nice people we met. But at the church, to answer your question, the first thing I remember getting involved with was Myrtle Beach Rotary Club. Ed Farmer was the president of the church at the time. He was a local CPA, and he invited me to Rotary one day. And Bobby thought it was a great idea. Said we never had anybody from a church, civic organization. We think it'd be good, so I joined Rotary. And still there, still a member today.
Of Myrtle Beach Rotary.
Myrtle Beach Rotary.
Well, that's a great group. Is that the one that Ashby Ward was located?
Yeah, Ashby was in our Rotary.
Did that help you get active with the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce?
No, how I got with Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce, Andy Bach was living then, and she did the leadership program.
Of course.
And I went through the Grand Strand Leadership program, and that is a great program, and I enjoyed it, and I was very fortunate. Ann was the director at the time; she did it.
Oh yeah.
But I had just a touch of a little health problem back then, and I'd kind of gotten out of some things a little bit, but now, it didn't last long. But Ann called me up one day and said, Vernie, we need you desperately on the chamber board. Would you consider being nominated? I said, well, Ann, I'm trying to get out of some stuff. She said, don't worry about it. I'll do everything for you. Wow. Just one meeting a month, but that, it's more than that.
Sounds like Bobby.
Yeah, but she's probably responsible, so I let them put my name up, I stayed at the chamber for 5 years on the board, and it's really a 3-year term. Right. But however, in your 3rd year, if you're elected chairman, you stay another year as chairman, making 4 years. Then you stay another year as past chairman, and that's busy too. That makes 5 years. So there isn't a lot of people that have 5 years at the chamber. I was at the church 5 years, But I enjoyed the chamber. It was great working with Ashby Ward and Andy Bach and Dee Briggs and all of them.
Absolutely. I think in 2000 you got the Andy Bach Award Leadership Grandstand. There was a certain award, of course. She's no longer with us, unfortunately.
One of the leadership classes came up with that as a class project, and it's a foundation. And you know, and I noticed in a newsletter I got recently that money was kind of low, so I sent them a check. but and they appreciate that. But that was a surprise. I wasn't going to their graduation. It wasn't my class, and I happened to run into somebody coming out of the Bellamy Law Firm, and he asked me, was I coming to the dinner? And I said, I don't know about the dinner. And he said, well, you and Peg ought to go. And I said, well, it's our graduating class. I said, well, I live right there at the Dunes Club. Maybe I'll come over and maybe not. And Peg didn't want to go. We didn't know. So I got there, and that happened. And I think I was the first recipient of the They, of course, named it after her, and then I think I was the first recipient of it. And I really appreciate it.
She was my leader of leadership grants.
Well,
when
you're
I went
very
through
fortunate.
it. I think it was her last.
Right. And Dee's doing a great job now.
She
Dee Briggs is doing a great job.
Absolutely. How about your association with Associated Insurers, Vernie? When did you come in contact with Raymond and that group?
Well, I knew Raymond and some of them while I was at the church, and you know, I don't know, after my 4th year at the church, 3 different age, I guess you get to know a lot of people by being associated with the church, and I think I had received at the time maybe the Rotarian of the Year award or something like, you know how Myrtle Beach is. You don't need to meet with 9 people, and in 6 months you know everybody in town.
Right.
But I got to know Raymond, I guess through John Slater and people like that, and but my 4th year, 3 different agencies visited me and wanted me to come to work for them. Then another group we put together talked me into doing that, and I didn't want to do this, but we did it. It didn't work. It was to buy an agency, and we almost did. And I'm glad we didn't. I owned one. I don't really care to own another one. But the 4th year at the church, they came to me with that, and I was considering it, but I didn't want to really do it. And Bobby was on his little sabbatical up in the mountains studying and relaxing, and Peg said, well, you better go talk to Bobby because he ain't going to want you to do that. So I called Bobby up in the mountains and Cashiers, and I drove all the way up there, and we stayed up about all night. We prayed a little bit and cried a little bit and laughed a whole lot. And he said, well, I tell you what, said, let's go to Atlanta tomorrow to a Braves game, and we can be riding together and we can talk about this thing. He didn't want me to do it. I said, okay. So we went to Atlanta and talked about it. Never did get to a Braves game. We found the Brooks Brothers and went shopping. And then we came back. And so I came back and I told those 3 different companies I couldn't do that. Bobby and I had started some things we were still working on, and we wanted to finish them. And to directly answer your question with Associated Insurers and Raymond Childs, Raymond came back to me the 5th year, and he had a written contract. And it was better than me owning my own agency. And Raymond's been really good to me, and I write a lot of business for him, but I come and go pretty much like I please. And my perks are good, my health insurance is good, all that stuff. Raymond's really been good to me. And so I did it. I didn't mention it to Bobby that time. I just wrote him a little note and laid it on his desk and told him I was going to go do that. So it's been an interesting experience with Raymond. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And Raymond was in here at the studio actually a few months ago with with the group. I can't remember the name of the group right now. I've got a mental block with Stephanie Russ and the Miracle League. And had an amazing love affair with the Miracle League, and his wife Jerry have committed so much time to the Miracle League, much like you have to so many other amazing.
Well, they have focused on that, both Raymond and Jerry, and they have done a lot of good things for that program.
Absolutely. What about Associated Insurers or the similarities of the agency, the Hunt Insurance Agency you had in Yanceyville?
Hicks Insurance and
Hicks, excuse me.
Okay. It's probably 10 times larger than my agency. My little town, I love where I'm from. My little town was 1,500 people, and my county was 18,000 people. It's pretty much rural. So when I came to Myrtle Beach to me looked like New York City. I thought the wing stores was the county seat or something. But I love the transition. That's quite a jump from a small agency to a large agency, and it's easier, or it is to me, it's easier to do business and make money in Myrtle Beach in this little town of 1,500 people, or county, which I made a good living. We educated 2 good kids, had a wonderful home, it's a wonderful place to live. But we just wanted to get to the coast. I didn't think it was fair for me to stay there having sold the agency, because up over a year after we moved to the beach, people back home would still call me with the insurance problems.
Right.
And they just said, well, they're just not doing it the way you did. I don't understand them and all that stuff. So finally I got out all of that. But I liked the transition. It was no comparison, really. It's just like night and day.
How about the big question a lot of viewers probably have, Vernie, is just leaving North Carolina?
Yeah, that was a hard thing.
Being a Tar Heel, growing up there in Caswell County, attending Chapel Hill,
that's right.
Being now a sandlapper, having been...
Yeah. Well, the interesting part about that, our original, it came up so quick to sell the agency. A good friend of mine was a state senator. An attorney came to me one day, and he had a client that thought maybe I might sell the agency. Well, I wouldn't do it. It was in 87. They changed the tax laws in 86. That hurt me bad, so I decided not to do it. So they came back 30 days later, and they worked that tax thing out, so I sold it. It was that quick. And then we had planned to go to Wrightsville Beach. I mean, I never in my lifetime thought I'd leave North Carolina.
Oh, yeah.
And we started at Wrightsville Beach and came all the way down to Sunset Beach. And I'll never forget as long as I live. Peg said, Vernie, you promised me if we moved, we would move where it was convenient. See, we lived on a 187-acre tobacco farm, and you drove 15 minutes to get a loaf of bread. And she didn't like that. So, and back in 87, Sunset Beach, all the way there to Wilmington, was pretty isolated, really.
Oh, yeah.
And so we got there, and she said, well, I don't want to live here either. I said, it's like living back out in the country. She said, let's just go home. And I always laugh and tell this story because I said, Peg, we don't have a home. We sold the home. You know, we don't own anything. She said, well, let's go to the beach house. We had a little beach house at Surfside. So, and we went there and spent the summer. And then we liked it, and so and started going to First Presbyterian Church. So we built a home at Wachasaw Plantation, and we lived there for 8 years. And then after I went back to the insurance business, I kind of got tired of the drive. I loved the Wachasaw Plantation. It was in Georgetown. You know, people ask me where I lived. I'd say Myrtle Beach, and somebody say, you don't even live in Horry County, you know.
Right.
But anyway, we moved up, you know, you've been to my home, you know where I live, and now we can be anywhere we need to be in 10 minutes.
Absolutely. You're in a great area. Vernie, there's so many things that we could hit on, so many board association, community groups you've been involved with. One that really stuck out was the board of the South Carolina Center for Family Policy. What exactly is that group, and had your involvement as a trustee of Leadership South Carolina gotten you active with that?
You know Inez Tenenbaum. Inez Tenenbaum has been my friend for a long time. We met, I don't even know how we met. We met before she ever ran for superintendent of education, state superintendent of education. I think she ran for lieutenant governor one time or something. She's just a nice lady. I love her to death. And she had a foundation in Columbia, and she used to talk to me about it all the time. She started this foundation. And then when she decided, when she was going to run for the Secretary of Education, she felt like she needed to get off of her own board as chairman. And she asked me, would I take that over? Would I serve on that board? And I did. In the first meeting, they elected me chairman, and I did that for 3 years. Now, what that program does, I'll just give you a quick example. I remember one of the meetings, we had $500,000 to give away. And the Boys and Girls Club was just getting started and having problems here in Myrtle Beach. And locally, there's an arm of that thing here, they were turned down. They applied for a $40,000 grant. And one of the councilmen mentioned to me after Rotary one day, and I had a meeting the next day in Columbia. So I went, and the little girl put all that stuff together. She said, now, Mr. Chairman, I know you're not going to like us turning that Boys and Girls Club down in Myrtle Beach, but they wouldn't sign it at the local level. She said, but you can sign it. I said, well, I'll sign it. She signed it. So I asked her to go back and take a little bit out of every group we were funding that day except the lowest one. Take a little bit of money out of the biggest one and come up as close as you can. So she came up with $36,000.
Wow.
And that helped them a lot. But what that South Carolina Center for Family Policy, the main focus is working with underprivileged children after school hours working with underprivileged children. They're in a lot of trouble and trying to keep them out of juvenile justice, try to keep them out of juvenile prison, as a matter of fact. But to do it at an early level, so you don't wait just before they go to jail or something and then try to talk somebody out of it. But I had the opportunity. They were not doing so good when I got there, and the board members were not showing up. But you mentioned Leadership South Carolina. As a matter of fact, I had graduated from that, and I replaced most of that board with some of my classmates.
Right.
And they're still there today. One of them was Clinton Fleming, president of Bank of America, and one of them was Julianne Farnsworth, McNair Law Firm, Cindy Beecham in Spartanburg, with the Chamber. So it made a great board, and they did a lot of great things.
Vernie, again, there's so many things we could focus on. When you think back, let's say the last 15 years, when you think back of projects you've been involved over the years that have given you a sense of accomplishment, what do you think has given you the greatest sense of accomplishment?
I've always felt good about that. It's several things, and I feel like everything, like Community Assistance Center, I was one of the early starters of that. We built it was a soup kitchen. I got them to name it a community kitchen, and then we built a facility with 3 or 4 agencies in it. That is anything that's ongoing like that, I think is wonderful, and it helps people that needs help. But of all the things I've done, I guess I'm most proud of is a program that you're familiar with, Kids Voting, and that's something that I put together about 9 years ago. It originated in Phoenix, Arizona, and I flew out there, been out there several times. But we did it during an election year, which made it difficult. But kids are taught by curriculum that we furnish the schools. And we had to get the county council, the county delegation, superintendent school board, and everybody in the world to sign off on this thing. Mike Tate was here at the time at the Sun News. Knight Foundation played a big role in funding for the national program. But anyway, we got the approval of everybody, and then they wanted me to establish a board of 30 people, and I wouldn't do that. I established a board of 9, including myself, and I hired Elizabeth Teal, and she's run that program ever since and done a great job. I chaired it for 3 years, and then I felt like I needed to step aside and let some of the younger folks do it because they have great ideas. But we raised $50,000 that first year. Orby Ferguson was on my original board, Rebecca Hines. I had a minute I could think of all of them, but I had 8. I picked 8 of my best friends that was the busiest of anybody I knew. Because if you get a busy person to do something, they'll do it right, and they'll do it in a hurry because they got other things to do. So we had to find an office. We had to raise $50,000. National got on me about it. I had 4 bankers out of 9 board members. Had 4 bankers. They chastised me a little bit out in Phoenix one night at a bank about that. Of course, my answer to that, I didn't know a lot about Arizona, but I know in South Carolina that's where all the money's at. It's in the banks. And I went to about every bank in town for $3,000. And they'd say, oh, we can't do that. I said, God, we didn't set the budget. I said, well, I don't want it now. I want $1,000 a year. Well, they like that.
Yes.
So that's the way we got started, thanks to the banks. Doug Wendell, which is on has been here. We got hit. We had everything ready to go, and we didn't know we had to print the curriculum, and it was going to cost $10,000 to print the curriculum and put it in every school. And we just didn't have that kind of money. And I always give Doug credit for that. I went to see that nobody had heard of Kids Vote. Everybody told me, he said, Doug Wendell's not going to give you $10,000 for a program not tried. You don't know nothing about it.
Right.
But I had a good friend that his dad was a good friend of Doug Wendell's. So I took him with me. And Doug laughs about this today, but he said, Vernie, I don't know what you're talking about, but give me a little time. I gave him a week. A week later, got a letter from him with a check in the mail for $9,000.
Wow.
And he said his start wasn't 10, but he could write the check anything below 10 and didn't have to go for the board. Might be letting the cat out of the bag on TV, but he saved our life. And we got it printed, and it's done well.
So how about in your spare time, Vernie? Do you golf? Do you hunt?
I don't hunt, fish, play golf. My hobby is having lunch. I try to have lunch with somebody different every day, and I enjoy that.
Absolutely.
I walk a lot now. I walk 3 miles a day. My Santee Cooper state board, the big board, is keeping me busy. I've been on the local board for 10 years.
Right.
And so when I went on the big board, I knew the language. I knew all the staff. I knew a lot of people within Santee Cooper, and it was a great utility. It was great. And I thank Mark Samples for that appointment. He's a good friend, long-time good friend.
Absolutely. I know he has been. I know you've been active in politics, on and off, kind of behind the scenes for years, always behind the scenes, and obviously very active in North Carolina. It's very exciting, I'm sure. If you weren't currently the executive vice president of Associated Insurers and involved in so many charities, Vernie, what do you think you'd be doing?
You know, what I'd love to do, the first thing I'd want to do is take kids voting statewide. We just don't have the money or the personnel to do that. Now, we brought it to Georgetown County. They do a great job down there. I wanted to take it and tried to take it to Spartanburg, but they have 6 school districts, 6 superintendents. And you get 6 school boards on the same page and 6 superintendents on the same page. It's almost impossible, but it could be done. It's a great program, and it should go statewide. Some states have it statewide.
Lastly, Vernie, when you think about all the inspirations in your life, growing up in Yanceyville, being there, obviously active there at Chapel Hill and traveling throughout the state, and now being in South Carolina, who do you think's been your biggest inspiration?
My wife. Peggy, as you know, is a very special person. I'm gone a lot. I was in Columbia last Tuesday. She had to drive to Raleigh with one of the grandchildren. But Peggy is very considerate, and she's always been there, keeping the house, raising the kids, and keeping me going. I was like a third child, I guess, because, you know, she told me one time it was like running back then they called them filling stations, service stations. I'd pull in, fill up, and take back off. And we thought when I retired I wouldn't be doing all that stuff. But it's tenfold here, and it's been wonderful, and I give her credit for that. And we've been best friends since junior high school.
Thank you, Vernie. Inspired by his wife of 47 years, the father of 2 and grandfather of 2, an amazing man, an amazing committed community servant. Vernie Dove, thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Stay tuned to more Carolina People coming up next. We want to thank Vernie Dove for sharing some amazing life experiences and making today's Carolina People so special.